BD, why you get lost again?
Hello YouTube. So today I'm just going to do a quick overview of some bike locks which I use. Now at the time of creating this video, bike theft and bike crime in the UK is on the rise again. Anything from opportunists to organised gangs. In fact, only the other day I was watching a couple of YouTube channels, and a couple of the people on there both had their bikes stolen. I think one had a bike which was lifted into a van and driven away. Another one had a bike which was attacked with an angle grinder. And there was a third guy as well who actually had quite a decent lock on their bike, and there was attempted theft on it. They didn't get the bike, but they made a bit of a mess of the lock. So I thought I'd just review what I tend to use currently on my bike. Now, I'm not sponsored in any way with these companies. This is all my own personal view and money I've spent personally on these locks. And I don't just use not just one lock, not just two, not just three, not just four, but five locks. Now, yeah, it's getting a bit ridiculous, the amount of locks which you could put on your bike. Ideally, you need to lock your bike up and try and make it a big deterrent, and lock your bike to something solid like a lamppost or another bike or something which is going to stop them from actually picking it up, because you could put 12 locks on your bike, but it's not going to stop two people picking it up and throwing it in the back of a van and driving off. But yeah, even just one lock certainly helps if the bike next to you hasn't got any locks on it at all. So I think the idea really is to try and make your bike less attractive to steal and more difficult to steal than, unfortunately, the bike which you park next to. Right. It's a shame bikers have to do this and carry them out of locks, because the other thing as well, it's quite difficult to actually carry a lot of the locks on your bike as well, especially if you've got a naked bike. Now you can have big chains, massive great D-locks and all sorts of bits and pieces, but you try putting it on the naked bike, that starts to weigh the bike down, and also trying to find where to actually put it. I suppose if you've got a top box, panniers, then it's not as bad, but it's still added weight. So anyway, here are the 5 locks which I tend to use. So let's start off with the Oxford Titan disc lock, made of some sort of alloy. It's got a 10mm locking pin there, which goes through the disc, a brake disc that is, and yeah, it's more of a deterrent really. I don't think it's going to stand up to a great deal of an attack, certainly not by an angle grinder. They could probably hit it a few times with a hammer and chisel. It might hold up for a little while. It'll probably do some damage to the bike doing that, but I'd imagine they would probably just, well, angle grind off the brake disc to actually remove it. But overall, it's not too bad. It's a good. I used this on my little 125 when I first got my motorbike. But yeah, more of a deterrent really. You stick that underneath the seat in the on the motorbike as well, so not too bad. Then let's have a little look at the master lock chain, which has got like a lock built in. That's not too bad. I mean, again, that's not going to stand up to an angle grinder attack, but again, more of a deterrent, and you can put this around a lamppost, another bike perhaps, so it's going to slow them down a little bit, but on its own, no, I probably wouldn't trust it. Still good though, not too bad. Then let's have a little look at the the light lock X1 Moto. Now this is quite a substantial lock. It's quite heavy. It's about 1.7 kilograms. It's got some sort of anti-rotation design, so that if you do make one cut sort of there or whatever, you can't actually rotate the bar in the lock. So if it's around a bike, you know, wheel, lamppost or something, you'd probably have to make you'd have to do 2 cuts, I think, to actually remove it. It's got some sort of thing called baromium, which is some sort of magic composite material. Again, you know, it's meant to resist angle grinder attacks, pry bars and all that sort of thing. Quite a heavy, substantial sort of lock. I think if this has saved many bikes, I think. There is actually a YouTube video going around from a guy called Freddie Dobbs, and he had a Triumph Bonneville he parked up, I think, somewhere on the outskirts of London, and in a car park, and overnight somebody tried to nick it, and they had to go at cutting a light lock, and all they did is actually damage the covering, made a few scratches on the armour inside, and that was it. So yeah, I think that is a pretty good lock for me to use. Then I've got another one here, which is the piece of paper here, the Light Lock X3, which is similar to the X1, but it's a bit more substantial. It's a lot bigger, not really in size, but certainly in weight, and the overall diameter and thickness of the sort of the bar and the lock which they've sort of used. Again, it contains even more baromium, weighs about 2.1 kilograms. It's got increased resistance against angle grinder attacks, bolt croppers, long bars, hammer and chisel, and something which some attackers use is a minus 40 degrees spray, which is supposed to try and freeze the lock so it becomes brittle. Yeah, so that's not too bad. Heavy, so yeah, pretty substantial sort of lock, really. Only comes in black though. Would be nice if Light Lock did some more colours, you know, like a bright orange, bright red, or whatever. On the Light X1, I did put a couple of little bits of tape around it, really, just to make it stand out. But yeah, both of those come with 2 keys, very secure keys, which you can register with Light Lock when you get them. Then, and this is a beast of a lock, this is, and this is the Light Lock Core Moto. Comes in orange, red and black. Weighs 2.9 kilograms and is about 125 centimeters long. Now this one is good for locking your bike to a lamppost, or to you know, another bike, a wheelbarrow, an axle stand, bit of wood, whatever, really. Quite heavy. Yeah, it comes with these little straps, which you can, on Velcro, which you can unstrap, and you can actually strap it together to make this sort of close the loop, to try and make it easy to transport. Would have been nice if they perhaps sewn these onto this protective sort of covering, really, because these do come off and it's quite easy to lose. Gets a bit dirty after a while, but you can take this cover off to wash it. It's got a light reflective cover on it. And with this one, I think you get 4 keys, 3 or 4 keys, I think. Again, you can register that with Light Lock for any replacement keys. Got a waterproof lock there. And you can join these together, so you can have another one of these, or another 2, join them in together in a great big line, and then link them together. So that's what I tend to use. But where do you store it on the bike? So with the Oxford lock, I can put that underneath the seat. It's always going to be a bit difficult trying to find where to put locks on a naked bike, but that fits underneath the seat, the rear seat just right. I'll just stick that back on there. And then with the two, the X1 and the X3 light locks, I'll put them on the rear bit here on the carrier. I haven't got the top box fitted to this at the moment. Bit conscious of the weight on the back of that with those two locks, but I think that should be okay there. Now with the chain, I'm probably not going to carry this. I shall probably use this back at home to anchor the bike to a ring once it's in the garage. So yeah, I mean it could go around that rack. With this one though, this is a bit more difficult. I'm probably going to use this if I go on a long tour. Put it in a top box because I can't get this on the bike. It'd be too big unless I had panniers, but on a naked bike, nah, I think I'll use that a bit later. But overall, five locks on a bike is just getting too ridiculous.
So there you go, that's just a selection of locks which I tend to use on the bike. I suppose the other thing which would probably help to deter some thieves would be a cover. So probably lock it, chain it and cover it, I suppose. Makes it a little bit more difficult, but then if they're really determined they're going to get it anyway. And probably find, if it's possible, although not always possible at all really, but if you can lock it to a piece of street furniture like a lamppost or a bollard or another bike, just to try and make it more difficult. But yeah, I think the main thing is to try and make your bike less attractive to be stolen than the bike you park next to, unfortunately, but it seems to be the way it is at the moment. But the other thing I was thinking as well, is always in the back of my mind, is if you are in the very unfortunate position where your bike is stolen, who knows what damage could be done to that bike, and well, do you really want that bike back once it has gone? Anyway, on that thought, thanks for watching.